We are now on the 10th mantra of the second chapter, page 115. So here the Upanishad, rather the Rishi, talks about uh, those conditions for meditation. As you've seen, we've entered the meditation space, the proper uh, practices. I'll read the translation, which is on page 116. One should fix the mind on the Supreme Self while dwelling in a shelter, such as a cave, free from wind, that is even, free from pebbles, fire, and sand, and free from sound and water. And that is not a public shelter, and and that is pleasing to the mind, but not painful to the eyes. Samay sucho sharkara vanni valuka vivarjite shabda jalashaya hibi mano nukule natu chakshupidane goha nivatashrayena prayojayet. Now, as usual, certain uh, locations are more favorable for meditation, and it implies in those days, when these things were readily available. Now you don't, and there are more people living in urban areas than. So where do we go searching for caves?
You do live in caves, though.
So, like Swami Vivekananda says, that you keep a room or keep a corner of the room separate for meditation, and there light some incense sticks or keep a lamp burning whenever you are there. So what happens is, and think holy thoughts. So gradually, what happens is that ambience of that corner of the room changes. We were just talking right just now about a personal space. We all have a personal space, and what's actually happened, it is what we have actually created. This personal space is there, but it's what we have created. And so what happens is, this personal space affects the surrounding walls, floor, ceilings, this, that, everything. So the room becomes a part of your personality, an extension of your mood. It's always like that. When you go to a place and you find, God, you're running away from here. Uh, that place does not suit your character, your personality at all.
Mm.
So you have a subconscious liking for certain things like order, and the furniture should be moved like this or that, and the color and this. Oh, and as you go in, you feel comfortable. That's the idea. So when you have a sacred space there, who has created a sacred space? You yourself. How? Through those sacred thoughts. When you think of God, you do the sacred thoughts, and the thoughts that create a kind of an ambience there. The ambience in this room is different from the ambience outside this room, obviously. And the ambience outside a room is different from the ambience on this road out there. And the ambience on this road is different from the freeway. You see? So it is the people who come here, they think, and that those thoughts are like congealed in that atmosphere. There we are. So the idea of a space where you can sit down quietly and meditate. That's the idea. So in the old days, they had, you go to a cave, and then, yeah, it's free from sand, pebbles, and there should be no threat of fire, or there should not be a too public place, or a kind of a road where you can hear the sound, or there's a pond nearby where other creatures come to drink water. So to avoid all these things, and what do you do there? You go in and that's a beautiful thing. Huh. Yeah, somehow once we get into nature, this city that we have built is not really conducive to thinking higher thoughts. It makes you run, it makes you anxious, it makes you terrified. It's like, some animals kept in those huge cages. We sometimes feel trapped in this city. The moment you go out of the city and you're with nature and you feel so relaxed, somehow that subconscious, those factors which are pulling you down or giving you stress, they are simply disappeared, and there you feel kind of rejuvenated. You come back after a week or with 10 days or 1 month, and you feel so good. And that's the idea. When you go down to nature, you can say your natural, you can say, the tendency of the mind to become relaxed takes over, and then you can start. And that's why he's saying that that's pleasing to the mind but not painful to the eyes. And there one should fix the mind on the Supreme Self. That's all. Obviously, you're not going to look at nature. Oh, you might write a poetry or paint something, but that's nature. You are going beyond nature. You have to cut through the gross world, which comes in the next two uh, verses. So there should be less obstruction on the gross plane, so you can cut through. That's the whole idea. So this is, you're saying, the word given is cave. Now, cave also in, we know what's a cave like. Uh, but then the center of your consciousness, the heart, is also called the cave. Yeah, the cave of the heart. There where consciousness shines. So it is metaphorically telling you that you've got to go there, inside. Yes, it's a kind of a physical description, as well as you must understand that there is something, a cave there in your heart, metaphorical cave, and that is where you need to go and actually enter inside. It is in that space, the cave of the heart, where you can intuit the secrets of the universe. And there we said one should fix the mind on the Supreme Self. It is there where you can fix the mind on the Supreme Self, in the cave of the heart. So this has been alluded to in various scriptures, and it's that center of consciousness where we need to. The next mantra, that's the 11th. Uh, I'll read the translation on page 117. Mist, smoke, the sun, wind, fire, firefly, lightning, crystal, moon. These forms become the forerunners when Brahman is being revealed in yoga. What do you mean Brahman is revealed? The reality, the truth being revealed in yoga. These are the visions that one sees. Nihara dhumar kan anila nalanam khadyota vidyut sfatika shashina etani rupani purassarani Brahmani Abhivyakti Karanani Yogi. So here it is. Like, what is actually? Are these things external? So now the yogi, take for example, you are now going and meditating in a cave. You're sitting in a cave where you've met more or less the conditions. It's not too windy, there's no fear of fire, and it's quiet, and there's no sound of water or people, and you are now sitting and meditating. As you meditate, as you concentrate, what happens is these are the visions that come before you. Now, wait, what's that? It's nothing outside, but see what happens is consciousness expands. It's very strange, you know. Take for instance, uh, people who've had due to epilepsy, people who are prone to epileptic seizures, they they sometimes some years ago they used to cut the corpus callosum. There's two hemispheres of the brain, and there are bunch of nerves from the right side going to the left, from the left side going to the right. Huge. And they found that when they cut those, consciousness develops in two streams. You ask a person, you show that person a flower, you say, can you draw that flower? A kind of daffodil. That person will draw only half the flower. Right. Yeah. What's that? Yes, it's true. Half. But that's what I see, they say. They only see half of it. Consciousness develops in dual pathways. Hmm. Hmm. So you have a right uh, hemisphere and a left hemisphere developing two separate personalities. I don't know. Somebody else did it. I think maybe that person. They blame that, saying, "Why can't you lift your left hand?" They're saying, "No, that's not my hand." Simple as that. They don't identify themselves with that particular that side of the body yet. This consciousness is developed separately, amazingly. So consciousness, we think, oh, it's nice, stable, and all. Ah, be careful. Wait, wait. So as you meditate, as your mind is getting more and more subtle, consciousness is getting more and more subtle, these are some of the things you see within your consciousness. We say, oh, it looks as if it's from outside. It is not outside. That's why,
Could you please repeat it? What are the signs?
yes,
Thank
mist, smoke, sun, wind, fire, firefly, lightning, crystal, and moon. These forms become the forerunners when Brahman is being revealed in yoga. So here, the commentator, wonderful, right? Nihar, mist. The modifications of the mind emerges in that form together with the vital force. Now here is we have seen the mind is always joined to the vital force. In fact, the subtle, you can say, action of the vital force is the mind. Okay. So the modification of the mind in the sense of the mind is there is called a chitta vritti. It arises, and as it rises, there is a modification in that. And what are the modifications? This, it appears first as a mist, as a kind of a suffuse light all over. You are meditating and you feel that you are surrounded by a kind of a misty light. Okay? So that's what happens. And then after that, it appears like smoke. Then it appears like a sun, and after that, like the wind. Thereafter blows a wind very hot like fire in its brightness and the power of burning. So, uh, what the commentator is explaining is like, as the mind and consciousness is getting more and more subtle, is getting more and more intense, consciousness which is there, there's a light that appears first as a kind of a soft light surrounding you, everything. And then that light appears like kind of a smoky, everything like smoke coming out of this. And then it appears like sun, like bright, like it sometimes it's like scorching. That's because it's like a kind of a hot wind that has risen. It's bright, and then like the hot wind hitting you, that wind hits you. You're in the middle of a kind of a wind, and then sometimes it collapses and then appears like that. All that light, within that light are those millions and millions of blinking lights, like the fireflies. No? In the dark, you see them. They're by the thousands and hundreds and millions. And then they keep on flickering, and wow, it looks so beautiful. You'll see something like that. And sometimes that light appears like rapid, like lightning, and sometimes it becomes so transparent. It becomes like you're seeing through a glass. Everything is so clear, and then it appears like white light. Sometimes white light. Sometimes the light is yellow in color, something like this. Uh, these are the various manifestations of the light. Not really light, but it's a light of consciousness. Now, what is the consciousness? Is that mind which is yoked to the prana, the vital force, and to all these things. Many people see many forms. That depends. Now, suppose you are meditating on the Buddha, okay? You might see the Buddha surrounded in that luminous light. Or you're meditating on Vivekananda, or Holy Mother, or Ramakrishna. And then suddenly it's like, around the Buddha or Vivekananda, you see millions of like, blinking lights. You see that also. Sometimes it's white, and sometimes it's transparent, and sometimes it's smoky. Yeah. And now these are impersonal signs. It appears like this to most people, but they interpret it through a personality. Oh, God came and spoke to me. Oh, he came and there was a burning bush. In the Bible, you get a burning bush. God spoke to me. There was a burning bush. Oh, really? I see. Okay. And then there was smoke all around, and there was a huge wind that came, and waves lashed, and the moon turned red, blood red, and this and that. All these things in the scriptures you get. Huh? It's nothing but this. It's a consciousness. It's nothing external. So here we are. This explains a lot of, you can say, phenomena that the books of yoga or the mystics or various things it's kind of from a smoky realm, two hands emerge, that of Satan, and tried to grab me. Where does Satan come? There's no Satan actually. You interpret all those things because you've been thinking about Satan before you were meditating for some years, of course. So it depends on your metaphysical outlook, what you've trained yourself over the years, and then you started meditating, and then so you find those old things coming out here inside in these visions. These are not external. This is very clear. The commentator is very clear. These are not external. These are the phenomena of your own consciousness. This is clear. Otherwise, where did the smoke come from? Where did the fire come? Where did the hot wind come from? Where did the sun and moon come from? Wait. So this is the better explanation, I think. So these forms, these generalized forms, and these forms, like when I'm talking about generalized forms, like you have the archetypal, you can say symbols, like one person in one part of the world is worshipping fire, and you see another person in another part of the world worshipping fire. So who gave them the instruction how to worship and what to worship? So there was no communication, no, but then that is something which are these universal, you can say, symbols which Carl Jung speaks about, universal archetypes, and they manifest themselves. Who invented the cross? What's the symbolism of the cross? Not with Christians, not with Romans. It was even before that. This is the swastika. It was even before that. There is now, of course, it looks terrible. Mm, but certain symbols are universal. Humanity intuits them. Nobody has to teach them. Who taught humanity about God? Nobody. Even those people who are living in so deep forest, who've got no contact with the external world. Some of the people in the Amazon, for centuries they have been living there without any contact with the outside world. Now they have been contacted and they're decimated because of diseases and all these things because of the contact. But they too have the religion. Who taught them? There you are. So certain things are universal. So here is saying all these things that you see are within consciousness. These forms becoming forerunners when Brahman is being revealed in yoga undertaken for that purpose. So here, as you're keeping on practicing concentration, yoga is concentration. The word yoga means concentration, not headstands or not these things. That's a separate part of yoga, which was developed later by the one branch of the yogis to kind of keep the body healthy. And so, suppose you have to sit down for 8 hours, not one day, every day, for years and years. So you have a backache and you have a leg ache and all the types, your head reels. So why don't we make this thing strong? Yes, you can do it, and that's what they succeeded. So that your meditative practices will not be disturbed by a stomach ache or a headache or a leg ache or a backache and all these things. They talked about diet, talked about exercises, they talked about how to control the prana. So once you can control the prana, it's like some of these martial arts. You see, especially in the Eastern martial arts, one person can hit a wall and the wall breaks. Technically, this is not possible. Your hand is much softer than that wall or a brick or anything concrete. But it is not just the hand. You train the hand to make it hard, but it is your vital force, the prana that you have trained along with exercises that actually hits that wall. And it's the prana that breaks that wall. It's not that bodily part. This is just a kind of a carrier. So impossible things can be done through the manipulation, disciplined manipulation of the prana, the life force. It's a tremendous you can say, power there with all of us. So when you have two wrestlers or two boxers, like boxing, and both are slamming each other, it's not a physical fight, it's actually a mental fight. They're both sizing each other up first, and both watching each other very carefully. It's actually the mind that is fighting there, the playing there. It's not the body. The body, the moment your attention slightly wavers up, you get a hit and you're out. What happened? This guy was fighting all along well, nicely, and he goes down. His attention wavered slightly, and so in all sports, in everything, it's actually the mind that's important. And when the mind is focused, the life force gets focused. That's the idea. So uh, we've strayed from the topic. So as we keep on practicing, the life forces and the mind and everything becomes concentrated, and these are the things that one sees.
Why are they called foreigners? Why are they called foreigners?
Foreigners.
Isn't that
No,
what
no.
you said?
No.
These foreigners.
Forerunners.
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 Okay, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Purasarani. That is, they come before the realization of truth.
Okay.
So you get in. Last time I was talking about, like if you concentrate on your tip of your nose, you get heavenly, you can say, fragrance. If you concentrate on the palate, you can see wonderful colors and forms. And if you concentrate on the root of your tongue, then you can hear sound. When you concentrate on the center of your tongue, you can, and this is something you're coming in contact with something. And the tip of the tongue, you get beautiful taste. So even if your food is insipid, don't worry. Concentrate here. Right. Oh yes. How come these perceptions do come? Yes. This is the next verse that speaks about this thing. That is, your mind has become very subtle and it can cut through the gross external covering of reality. This, when earth, water, fire, air, and space come into being, and when the fivefold attributes of yoga have emerged, then for the man who has attained a body made up of the fire of yoga, there is no disease, no decrepitude, no death. This same thing is translated slightly, with a slight variation by Swami Vivekananda. They say, when the perceptions of yoga arising from earth, water, fire, ether have taken place, then yoga has begun. Unto him does not come disease, nor old age, nor death, who has got a body made up by the fire of yoga. Now, this has got a lot of explanations within it. Because what happens is, we're talking about, see, creation is a kind of it starts with certain simple rudimentary materials. And these rudimentary materials, they combine. And through the combination of various, you can see various combinations, you you get an admixture called this world outside. It is like a tapering existence. Starts from here, simple rudimentary elements, and then it keeps on combining, recombining, and all these things. This is the process called panchikarana, quintuplation. That is, take for example, I'll give an example. We have these five elements called earth, water, fire, air, and space. So, what is space? Yeah, space now, when it is in its pure forms, it is untainted. But when the time of creation comes, it is tainted by the other materials, elements. So, one half of space is called akash. And then you have the other, say this 50%, and then 25% of the earth, 25% of water, 25% of air, 25% of ether. That makes it 100%. So here you are. It's kind of a modification. We won't go into it, but the rudimentary elements from where these combinations take place are called tanmatras. The rudimentary elements, just that, tanmatra, subtle element. Okay, that's, you see a rose there and you get a smell here. What exactly is coming? Yeah, we know it's the molecules are coming here. You don't see the molecules, but you know, you haven't seen the rose also, but there's a rose here. And you say, where's that rose? So the molecules are subtle. You don't see them, but you can sense them. Similarly, taste and touch, and you can say hearing, they are all in a kind of a pristine state, a rudimentary state. These are called tanmatras. Now, each element has got one characteristic. Take, for instance, space. What is space? Sound. Oh, yes, we have sound. In this vast, you can say, space here, there is the element of sound. Okay. So, as space becomes more and more vibratory, then it turns into air. So, the space now, along with air can touch you. And then this vibration keeps on getting more and more rapid. Then it becomes fire. So, fire can be seen, and the air can be, you can touch the air to the air and you can hear it. And then when fire becomes more and more intense, it condenses, it becomes water. And that water, you can see. So the water element has what? You can see it, and you can touch it, you can hear it, and you can taste it, water. And then it becomes even more intense, vibrations become more and more intense, then it condenses, congeals, and becomes the earth. So earth can be clay, can be seen, touched, tasted, smelled, and heard. So you have this whole universe now ready, and our senses are tailored to pick up these things. It means that this external world and our senses and our body are made of that same materials. Otherwise, you will never be able to have seen or tasted or touched, smelled things. Now, from that subtle elements, the gross has come. Okay. Now, this is clear. As you keep on practicing meditation, what happens is you intuit, you cut through the gross elements because your senses are now closed. Your mind is active and your prana is active, and it keeps on getting more and more purified because the more and more concentrated. You, as it were, cut through all these layers and emerge into those pristine elements called tanmatras. And you'll see space as space, you'll see water as water, you'll see air as air, you'll see fire as fire, and you'll see earth as clay. But these perceptions are not through the senses, through the mind. When you intuit that through the mind, you come down to the very, you can say, edge of the universe, edge of creation, rather, I would say. So these are the things. In when Buddha was meditating under that bo tree, and then Mara comes. The story goes, Mara comes and he tempts Buddha with various things. Actually, that temptation is not from outside. Oh, Jesus was tempted by Satan, took him to on top of a mountain and showed him. This is what you want. Take it. Make you lord of all these things. Get away from me. There is something like that. Okay. So Buddha, when he was sitting and meditating, and then first there comes Mara. He has the five elements in his control. He first brings space, the element of space, and Buddha keeps on hearing ominous sounds and loud sounds, and everything is kind of everything like the universe is kind of a big explosion. But Buddha sees through those sounds and he keeps still. He doesn't get frightened, he doesn't get agitated, he just keeps quiet. And that is what he sees, Vipassana. He sees things clearly. Then Mara got annoyed. Huh? Anyone could have just left his seat, and because he had made a pratikna, he had made a vow. I will not get up from this seat until I realize. Let my body dry up in this place. I will not get up until I realize the truth. So Mara was trying to take him away from that seat because he'll succeed. Then when he could not succeed with space, then Mara brought the wind, and Buddha felt wind blowing all the trees and plants and forests all being uprooted. And Buddha kept still. He could see through this illusion. Then Mara brought fire, and all round Buddha is surrounded by fire, huge fire conflagration. Yet Buddha was quiet. He did not get up from his seat. And then Mara brought water, and huge waves lashed the place where he's sitting and came right up where he was seated. The water trying to draw him out. Buddha kept still. And then finally, Mara was disgusted. He brought in the earthquakes, huge earthquakes. The story goes that is like Mara had five daughters, and one by one, those girls come to tempt the meditating Buddha, and then they had these powers along them. And then after Mara leaves, then he reaches enlightenment. He becomes the Buddha. Siddhartha becomes Buddha. So these things one crosses through, one gets the perception of these subtle elements. That's what the verse is trying to say. Very subtle elements. That is now like you are the edge of the universe. That is the edge of creation or the edge of, what you say, time. Or if from there everything has descended. That means you have transcended the body. And you can think of yourself as a subtle body. Very difficult. We have a subtle body, but we think in terms of a cross body. This person can think of it. And then once he, the yogi understands, he can see through those visions. He realizes himself as the soul, separate from nature. And this is metaphorically spoken of as a fire of yoga. It burns away all the sins and all the disease and all the imperfections and everything, death, decrepitude. That's what he's saying. For the person who has attained the body made out of the fire of yoga, it's like the fire. That concentration itself is like a kind of a fire of yoga. There is no disease, no decrepitude, no death. Here the yogi see. So these visions come kind of a last ditch attempt to throw you off the path. And they do succeed. If the yogi is not careful, he is apt to get sidetracked. Sidetracked. When one of Sri Ramakrishna's disciples comes to him, I want to learn yoga. Ramakrishna looks at him carefully. Yes, I'll teach you yoga. Before that, he had learned the philosophy under a very great pandit. He was interested in yoga from his childhood, and he studied. And then they said, "Don't undertake these practices without a guru." So he was in search of a guru, and somebody told him there's a Ramakrishna Paramahans there in the temple garden in Dakshineshwar. So he walks all the way. He was very young. He walks all the way. He comes. And then it was late evening. By the time he was tired, Ramakrishna comes. Oh, he came. He arrived and he met another brother disciple and said he's gone to Calcutta. He'll be returned. Why don't you? We'll have some manage some dinner. And he waited, and then he said, "Can you teach me yoga?" And he looks at him. Ramakrishna looks at him. Yes, I'll teach you yoga. You were a yogi in a previous birth. You never attained perfection. This time you will attain it. There.
Hmm.
In the Bhagavad Gita, it's called Yoga Brashta, that yogi who has somehow fallen away from the path. So that person, how he is born, that's one of the questions of Arjuna. What happens when you're practicing yoga and you don't reach the goal? Then he explains that you are born in a particular circumstances and then you attain that previous knowledge that you have and you continue then the practice. So that disciple was Swami Abhedananda, who spent 25 years in this country here. Hmm. Huh.
And he started a center of his own in this country, in America.
No, he stayed in the Vedanta Society of New York.
Oh, he did.
Oh
What
yeah,
was his name?
The one found
Swami Abhedananda.
the one is Swami Vivekananda story.
He was Vivekananda's Guru Bhai, that is a
Guru.
brother
Yeah,
disciple.
brother,
Yeah,
yes.
of course. 25 years he spent here. Wow. So he was a great yogi. You see, you see.
He wrote a lot of books.
Oh, you have plenty of books. So these things they come in front of the yogi. The yogi sees to them, will not get deluded, and his vision cuts through that illusion. Finally, you must understand that nature is a kind of a hollow. What do you say? A dream. The soul is much, much, much more powerful than whatever nature can bring for us. It will bring you heavens. It will bring you all the various toys, name, fame, this, that. Wow, this guy is not budging. Let's budge him with some more. And these are the final things that. So I'll read it again. When earth, water, fire, air, and space come into being, And when the fivefold attributes of yoga have emerged there, that person, right, sees clearly this mirage. He understands that he is full of consciousness. He is a soul. He is separate. So for that yogi, there is no more rebirth, there is no more death, there is no more, because that yogi has now identified himself with consciousness, with the soul, with this Atma, not with nature. Nature was on the keeps on vibrating this, that, and shows you.
Well, maybe I'll ask you this another time because it's probably too big a question for now. But in Advaita Vedanta, you know, there's the discrimination, neti.
Yeah, that's a
Like,
different
and
philosophy.
then
Yes,
you're
that is
all of
you.
this,
Yes, in
but and it's also saying it's unchanging,
mm,
and yet then it's all,
mm.
including the changing, is all you. And there's some
There are two.
philosophical
There are
sleight
two
of hand.
methods in Advaita Vedanta. That is the neti, no iti, not this, not this. And there's another one called the iti, this.
How do you spell that?
ITI, iti.
Ah,
Uh, iti. It affirms this creation is my body. There you are. The whole of the creation, yes, it's my body.
because with the neti when Sarvapriyananda spoke about it, it was like neti,
Yeah,
and then there was an about face.
yes,
Oh, and all of
yeah,
this.
exactly.
I'm like,
So
how did you do that
you
about
keep
face?
on peeling all those layers. Not this, not this, not this. This is the reality. No. Is this a reality? No. Is this a reality? No. Keep on peeling, and then oh, that. But like Shri Ramakrishna says, you take the stairs and climb up to the roof. Then you find the roof, the wall, the stairs are made of the same material. When you climb the stairs, it's not this, one by one. You climb the stairs, not this, not this. You reach the roof. Hey, I reached the roof. And you think, oh God, what's that? Yeah, the whole thing is made of the same stuff. There.
And so if that some of that stuff is changing, and that's all the one, then there is a part of the one that does change.
Yes, for you, then it appears unchanging. When this whole cosmos is taken as a unit,
Mm.
in relation to what will it change, you need two things. This whole thing is unchangeable.
Yet within itself,
Yes,
it has changed.
exactly.
Okay.
So,
Hmm.
yeah,
Sorry, you said about the matters.
yeah,
The matters in oceans.